What's up guys, Jay's 2 Cents here back in the car channel, and we got something fun planned for the 67 today. It's first true performance modification it's going to be getting. We've done all kinds of little things. We've changed grills, we've changed leaf springs in the back, added cow tracks, traction bars, which are completely unnecessary at the horsepower level that I currently have, fixed lenses in the tail lights in the back, windows. But today we are heading down to Red Barn Racing in Temecula, and we are getting the puny 308 gears out of here and putting a brand new positive traction unit, brand new gears, and completely rebuilding this thing. So yeah, this should be a good one. It's gonna be the first time we're gonna feel something different in the car. Now, I did have him actually tune the car a weekend ago. The same day that we did the leaf springs, I was down at his house in the morning and he tuned the carburetor a little bit. The thing was running stupid pig rich. He was like, yeah, I'll probably have to back out the throttle screw like a half a turn. Like four whole turns later, he's like, oh my God. We were literally pissing fuel out the tailpipe. It was running so rich. But yeah, I tell you right now, this car is driving amazing after his tune. In fact, see how easy that starts up? Anyway, let's head on down there. We got an hour drive to get to his place, and then we'll start getting dirty. Also too, I'm in a parking lot right now too. Don't freak out that I'm rolling and holding a camera. This is not gonna be nearly as two idiots as before. Mike's a professional, and we don't wanna screw this up or it'd be a very expensive learning curve. But maybe Matt will show up and we'll distract Mike a little bit. He's that kind of guy that's like, I'm down to business, I got things to do. And it's like, no, we're idiots, we're gonna act stupid. All right guys, I'm at Red Barn Racing in Temecula. I always give this guy a shout out because he built the ZL1, it's held up on track, it's held up to my abuse, but he's really busy, he's got many projects, and you guys can't contact him for any of your work until mine is done. Not to mention, he's probably got a wait list a year long anyway. No, to be honest, domestics, new, old, if you have questions, tunes, and all that stuff, you'll find a link to his Instagram down below. So we were just kind of talking about some of the body work and stuff in the car, where some of the body filler is, and we definitely, it looks like there's a part of the quarter that's been replaced. Stuff like that doesn't bother me. I specifically bought a car that I knew has had panels replaced and parts molested and things that are just wrong with the car because we are doing like a resto mod slash pro touring mod. Pro mod. There we go. It's a pro mod. It's kind of living in between. Matt just showed up. If you guys didn't see the car live stream we did on his channel, I'll put a link down below. But panels have been replaced on the car, there's Bondo, I don't care about all that. As long as it's done right and we get it all repaired, and I say repaired because there's parts of the car that are starting to rust underneath, trouble spots, behind the quarters, behind the fenders. I don't care if there's that stuff in there, it's not a pure car. But in terms of what we're doing today, the 308s are coming out, the 390s are going in, we're gonna replace the U-bolts with the proper ones. Mike was already looking at the plates that I brought for the previous suspension that was in there, and he agrees already there was some fuckery taking place. So it's it wasn't just us. What was me is I told Phil he should have done an injury counter.
Hammer to the face.
He doesn't know any of that yet. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I dead blowed my face with a 10-pound dead blow hammer. Don't ask. What I think is funny is given all the crap I've taken for that video, that's usually how it goes, but at the end of the day, it all works, and I've tracked the shit out of the Z, not the ZL1, but the Z, and I did that build, the entire undercarriage and suspension of that car myself, and it's held up, including going airborne a couple times, so yeah, shut up. So we're adding a spacer block to the rear leaf springs to get them lower, because the Calvert springs only come in one size. That's either stock, well, two sizes, stock or 1-inch drop for this application. So if you want the rear to be lower, you've got to add a block. Yeah, so we're gonna get down under there and just really kind of see what Mike has to say. He's probably gonna look at our install and be like, what the frig? All right, Mike, one of the common questions I got about this differential, and I'm gonna let you answer because I don't know, what type of differential is it and why did we go with it?
We went with the Eaton TrueTrac just because it's better than the clutch. The clutches over time wear out. This is known common issues. And it's something you see really prevalent in like the Mustangs and stuff like that, where you watch a burnout video and then all of a sudden you'll see them, like it'll start doing a burnout with both wheels, it'll stop one tire and then all of a sudden restart up again, and basically when it stops that, it puts a lot of heat into the friction pack and then creates that, it takes up that extra space. As soon as it takes up that extra space, is when it actually starts.
So is the Eaton TrueTrac like bands, or how is it?
It's actually a worm gear type.
Oh, worm gear. Okay.
Yeah. So it basically the gears they'll always do the same exact thing, unless you break it.
Well, you would know all about breaking diffs, wouldn't you? I hope that answers the question, because a few people asked me what diff did you go with and why, and one person asked if I went with the Eaton TrueTrac, and there you go. But Mike is a drag racer, and so he would know all about differential stresses and all of that. This is not a drag race car. Mike swears to God at some point we're gonna get it on the racetrack. I don't think so, but he said he's gonna pressure me until I do, especially after he's done building the motor. So we'll see. We'll see. He wants me to so badly, but.
I love 10-second show car.
10-second show car? You think it'd be a 10-second car with the setup we're going with?
Oh my God. If you don't run
All day long.
If you don't run a 10, you left it.
So my show car is gonna be faster than my race car? Yeah. Not in the turns though. I can't do wheel and fitment, or wheel and tire fitment, until my front suspension, which has been held hostage by Summit, is finally gonna be shipped on Tuesday. Once I get the front suspension all done, then I can find out where the car is gonna sit, and then we can go from there. This is like Forza, right? You just push a button and it's installed, right? Click, buy, install, done. It's just that easy.
Forza?
All right, what's the break-in process though?
On these here, it'll be just 500 miles of normal driving, and then after that we can let her have it.
Break-in gear oil too, or no?
A standard 75-90 gear oil, non-synthetic. And then after the 500 miles, we replace that with a synthetic 85-140.
So we can't even see what it feels like today to get on it? Probably shouldn't.
Maybe you probably should a
Little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Perfect.
It's coming from Nevada.
Launch. It's an automatic. It's hard to mess it up. Anyway, when it comes to carriers though, because there's a 308 in there and these are going to be 390s now, would we have even been able to put 390s in there? Or would it have potentially been...
If it was a Series 3 carrier, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I know when you make a big gear change like that, on my third gen when I had 273s, if I wanted to go even like 342s, they were like, you need a differential unit.
Yeah, you have to go from the Series 3 to the Series 4.
And that's just because of the overall size. You can only go so big and small on the gear and have it still fit.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, the offsets and things of that nature as well. You got to remember the as you change the gear ratios, the thickness has to come back out and match the smaller pinion.
Right.
So as you start moving stuff around like that, your carrier has to match to be able to put the gear in the right place.
I can't wait to see what the gears look like on that with the way they whine. They sound like a bus.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Race cars.
I'm also really curious as to how you set up the gear. What's it called? Lash?
Lash and stuff like that. That's all easy stuff. We basically set all that with the slip collars and this piece here.
Where's the yellow paint? Where's the yellow paint? Does it come with yellow paint?
Yes, it comes with yellow paint.
Are you gonna paint it?
Yeah. You have to. Check the pattern.
Right, because over time the paint will wear with where the, I guess, tension of the pinion is touching most on here, and you want it to be right in the middle, right?
Yeah, you want it in the middle and not too deep or too shallow to make sure you have full contact.
And you check that when we drain it and do after the 500 mile break-in?
Oh no, we do that as we set it up.
Oh, because it'll start cutting the paint right away?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. How much does it move over time though?
Shouldn't really move at all. Yeah, it shouldn't really move at all.
My 18 also should have had a bad ring and pinion gear set up either, but
I didn't set that one.
I know you didn't set that one up. And that was a factory problem. That had nothing to do with the horsepower that Mike put in my car. We have proof that pinion bolt backed out because they put markings from the factory on everything. Every bolt has a paint marking through it. It would be purple, yellow, red, whatever. And that's, as it goes through the assembly line, that mark says done. And it's kind of a, shoot, what do they call that? Indexing. And so mine was backed out like a half a turn. And with the amount of horsepower we have, that caused there to be enough movement in the ring and pinion to where under acceleration and deceleration and the constant hits I do in the ZL1, that just then is why we had the really loud deceleration whine in that. To the point to where it explained why it felt like the rear end was falling off the car, because there was so much play on that. The whole pinion shaft was wiggling around and had about a 1/8 inch in and out play as well. Okay. Matt just offered to bring us gear oil. That's because he's an AMSOIL dealer.
If you need oil,
plug.
I got you covered.
Lethal Garage. Mike is pressing in, what, bearing?
Yep.
So he's just using a socket.
And that's just to make sure that I've got full contact on it. Make sure everything's all nice and level. That way you're not pushing it around crooked.
Yeah, bearings being straight seems important.
Usually.
That squeaky sounds like my bedroom escapades. So a little bit of a development, as always. There's always something. When Mike took the rotor or the drums off, he noticed right away that the axles are aftermarket. So we have a problem now, potentially. We don't know whether they're 31 spline axle or 28 spline. If they're 31s, then the carrier that we just got isn't going to work. So with the way things are kind of gone, I'm probably just going to go ahead and just completely reduce myself to they're the wrong axles and just be pleasantly surprised if they're not. So he's taking the cover off the back right now. He's going to drain the gear oil. Mike also said the U-bolts that I got for the car are more of a factory size and too small.
Oh, and they installed the diff cover upside down.
It's upside down.
Yeah, dumbasses.
Okay, well.
The drain plug's on the top. Oh, God.
When Mike says, oh, God, when something comes apart, it usually means dollar signs.
For me or you?
Whoa. Yeah, obviously me. Mike is always willing to help you spend your money. Look, if you can't laugh when stuff like this happens, then don't even bother. Don't even pick up a project at all. Not that you can probably tell how dirty it is, but does anything seem worn out or wrong in there?
Yeah, there's like some weird markings and stuff on these springs. Like something's come apart in here before.
Oh, like wear marks?
Like it had contact at some point.
Mm-hmm. So Mike's rubbing his shaft. Did we get lucky?
Yep.
So it actually fits in there properly. So it is a 28 spline axle. And they're aftermarket though. Mm-hmm. So these were replaced. We know that these axles are about 3 years old now then, because 2017 is when the rear end was rebuilt. Very expensive and very improperly. And we say improperly because why the hell would you go from 373s down to a 308?
Why would you put the...
Oh, that's right. The guy who owned it was like 70. Oh yeah, and the cover was upside down. We already showed you that.
That's the first. Really, how much heat can that generate? Because knowing that, like, it's running thick, heavy oil.
You heard it here. Matt's rear end gets hot.
That's why he hates heated seats.
Something about his rear end is always oily. I don't know, something like that. All right, so you just got everything out. So I'm assuming now it's all kind of the reverse except for the gear lash setup.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. We're just gonna go with the setup that it had in it and start testing patterns and measuring, and then.
What is that you just took over? That steel?
That's a silicone.
Oh.
So, fun fact: if you don't silicone the splines on this, you will develop a rear differential leak.
Huh.
Yeah, it comes right out the splines, right through the nut and everything.
Sounds like by design.
Exactly. From the factory, they always have like a little Teflon sealer on them.
So this is the new pinion gear. That's the old pinion gear. Look at the size difference there. Wow. A lot of people forget it's not just the final gear. It's the pinion. It works as a set. So that has to be smaller as well as that being smaller. Since it's smaller though, it doesn't make it any less strong, right?
It does spin faster, so there's always that. There's a repercussion from that as well. But you have to get them to match both evenly. And then usually the way you can tell your gear ratio is you count the number of teeth on this gear versus the number of teeth on your ring gear, and then divide the two together.
Oh.
And then that gives you your gear ratio.
Simple enough.
This is where you put your nut.
I touched my nut onto that shaft.
Hey, get your nuts off of there. Nuts out.
There's an extra charge for this.
Get your nut off my shaft. Mike was giving me crap because I was using symmetric wrenches on my car once. He's using a 24 millimeter wrench to put my thing together.
Take it apart.
It's the tool. This is for the tool.
Still a 24 millimeter wrench.
He's curious.
That's what you call publicly called out. I win this one.
They had this way. They had too many shims in it. They had it too far one way.
So that explain why it was whining so bad?
Oh yeah. Yeah, now I've actually got a lash setting in here.
Wow.
Yep.
Did it the right way. Mike was telling me that we'll die before that rust makes its way through the iron. But I'm thinking replacing that housing at some point just to be cleaner and done right. It's like, it's money versus effort, right? Spend a few $100, get a new housing done, or spend a few hours, which costs more. And that's where you got to do the math.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy that Mike will tell you, I just throw money at problems at times. Mike's also very old school in that he wants to reuse what can be reused. So sometimes we have to meet in the middle sometimes. So the rear end is down on the ground. We haven't driven it yet, but we were kind of playing around with something. Yeah, 15 by 9.275 actually. It's a really weird size. 28-inch tall, Mickey Thompson drag radial. We put this on because I wanted to see if the 275 would fit. I've been wanting to do 275s on this car, but because of the 12-bolt rear end, it's a little bit wider, narrower actually than the 10-bolt that's on Mike's car, which is a 68. So we have a lot of areas that would have to be massaged for this to fit comfortably. But I also don't want to run that particular tire. That's got a bigger bulge in the center of the tire than the one I want to run. So that's where it's actually impacting and touching the inner fender is this section right here, because it really bulges out. But I gotta tell you right now, for being a muscle car, it looks really good, and I kind of hate that I like it. Mike, I hate you. It's lighter than my pizza pan, man.
Yeah, my carburetor's literally heavier than the wheel.
Yeah. These are his new weld racing wheels for his 68. Hopefully we will reveal on that car in a few weeks, huh? Once it's...
Very, very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon. It comes out of paint hopefully next week.
You're going to have to keep an eye on the Red Barn Racing and Bowtie Britches Instagram account if you want to see how his 68 turns out. But, man, I hate that I like that so much. So we'd obviously have to play with the wheel fitment a little bit versus his. Like I said, his is a little bit wider, almost 0.3 inches wider of a wheel with the same back spacing, so that kind of brought it in more than if we were running just a 9-inch wide with 5.5-inch back space, which would push it out just a little bit. That's without the lowering blocks. So that means if I decide to run a 15 by 9 with a 275 60-15, which is on there now, 28-inch tire, that's 1.4 inches taller overall diameter than the 245s that were on there now. So it fills up the fender gap a little bit. I could get away without having to roll the fenders. Mike's like, that gap's got to go, man. That's like monster truck.
That's a big gap.
But he's also like, you know, hella flush life, if you know what I'm saying. So, all right, there he goes for the first test drive. Now with the skinny tires back on, looks like it skipped leg day. All right, Matt's cameraman. Mike says there's an awful lot of vibration and noise in the car now because we know there was a problem with the transmission, and obviously the rear end turning faster now is only exacerbating that. So now we're gonna go on our test drive and see. Don't worry, a transmission build is next, but I'll be the judge of if it got worse or not. Oh, yay for shift kits. I hate that thing.
I can't even really tell a whining noise. I mean, I hear
I don't
a
know,
noise, but it doesn't seem like
I don't
it's
know
out
if
of
he's
place.
being hypercritical, but I also know he hasn't ridden this since we did the cow tracks, which increased all sorts of vibration. Oh.
Wait, and you said that used to be worse.
Well, no, that's bad. That's worse than it was. That's the shift kit.
And I, you know, you were kind of talking about it being bad, but wow.
I told you. Yeah, so that noise started after the cow tracks because we have a direct tube now going from differential to the bottom of the car.
Yeah.
It's not being kind of weakened through the leaf spring, kind of absorbing some of that sound. That sound when it downshifts. That's what he's talking about. I go, whoa. That was always there. I'm worried. I hate this transmission though.
How does it feel compared to what it
Definitely
used
a little
to?
snappier.
Yeah.
It's not,
You got a smirk on your face.
because I'm barely pushing the gas. And it's like what 16-year-old me would have wanted the automatic transmission to do.
Right?
There's this rap song that Phil likes to always quote. It's like, gears for the street, not the highway. B&M shift kick on. It's literally a rap lyric that says that. Every time he gets in my car, he sings that song because that's what he thinks of.
That's funny.
Mike's pretty convinced that it's this transmission that's vibrating real bad. And I agree. That's why next I'm already like, okay, when can we do the transmission? Let's do it. And Matt's like, no, he's got to do mine. So we'll just build mats, put it in here, and then we'll build Matt a new one.
Wait, what?
So typical fashion is what happens with these videos sometimes is I kind of stopped it and then came back to it days later. That's because if you follow on Instagram, then you'll know that we've sort of, you know, when you strengthen one thing, you move the weakness to somewhere else. And do you remember how I talked about a while back, not a while back, a few weeks ago, how I accidentally did a reverse drop on this car where driving forward at about 40 miles an hour, I accidentally went into reverse because I didn't know these didn't have reverse lockouts. It looks like we hurt the transmission. And by adding the 390 gears to the back and we're spinning the transmission so much faster, we're pretty sure we have a planetary gear coming apart with the way that the engine or the transmission is vibrating and the sounds it's making. So the car is basically stuck here now. And the rear end's back up again because I'm changing out the U-bolts to the proper U-bolts. If you remember that video, I was hitting myself in the face with a hammer and all that. None of that should have been necessary because we should have just waited and got the right hardware, which I have now, and I've been switching out by myself just fine without hitting myself in the face with a hammer. But whatever, you guys needed something to laugh at, and I'm glad it could be me, I guess. So here's what we've done. We've accelerated the plans. We have ordered all of the stuff for the transmission, which is sitting right over there actually, so that we can rebuild that. I'll finally mention what we're doing for transmission. We're doing a 4L60E, but we're basically dropping the E. It's gonna be a fully manual automatic. So it's gonna have like a bump shifter where it's almost like a sequential, if you will. There's not gonna be any electronics in it. The electronic overdrive is gonna be manual, where you flip a switch on the dash to put it in electronic overdrive, or lock up the converter, I should say, when you're on the highway. Very old school way. And it's actually a way that my Camaro, that really narrows it down. My 92 Z28 that I had was that way. And we did that because when that transmission had to be rebuilt, we just did the same thing. So it's kind of like a very old school method, and I don't want to go fully automatic. I kind of want some of the control over the car, I guess. And yeah, I should have just got a manual car if I was going to do that. But like I said, I want my wife to be able to drive the car. She doesn't drive a manual. She's not really that interested in trying to learn a manual, especially one that's got as much horsepower as this car is going to have. Because the other stuff that we have ordered is the block, the crank, the rods, the pistons, the rings, the all the head gasket studs, all that sort of stuff. We're still ironing out what heads we're going to go with. We're probably going to go with some custom milled heads. What camshaft and what intake, probably Holley EFI like we talked about. The car should be making at least 600 horsepower. But with all that said, today we're gonna start a video with Nick. Nick's coming back today, and we are gonna be doing the front suspension on this after I finish the rear. So that's where I end this video, and you guys just have to wait to see what crap happens with Nick and I. All right guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the car content, and as always, we'll see you in the next Jay's 2 Cars video where I hit myself with something.